For almost all of human history, giving birth was an event that could kill not just the mother, but everyone standing near her. Before hospitals, before villages, before the first permanent house was ever built, every human birth happened in the most exposed place imaginable. And it happened in a way no other primate quite experiences. A woman kneels in tall grass, both hands gripping a twisted root, and she does not make a sound. Somewhere behind her, the group has stopped walking. Nobody gave the order. They simply stopped, the way animals do when they sense a shift in the air. A few yards away, a second woman crouches low, scanning the tree line. She is not comforting anyone yet. She is listening for the wrong kind of silence, the kind that means something with teeth has noticed them. This is the moment we tend to skip over when we imagine our ancestors. We picture hunting. We picture fire. We rarely picture this. But almost every person who has ever lived arrived through a scene very much like this one. Start with the obvious question. Why would childbirth, the one event every generation depends on, be so dangerous to get through? Look at other mammals. A wildebeest calf stands within minutes, already able to run from lions. A newborn chimpanzee grips its mother's fur and holds on unassisted. Human infants can do neither. They cannot lift their own heads. They cannot regulate their own temperature. They arrive by almost any comparison unfinished. That unfinished state is not a flaw. It is the price of a trade nobody chose, but everybody inherited. When early hominins began walking upright, the pelvis narrowed to support that new posture. At the same time, brains kept growing larger, generation after generation, skulls expanding to hold them. Two changes, both essential to becoming human, aimed at the exact same narrow space. Something had to give. The compromise was timing. Instead of finishing brain development inside the womb, where a fully grown skull would no longer fit, human babies are born early, still developing, and complete a large share of their brain growth out in the open world. Researchers sometimes call this trade-off the obstetric dilemma, and it explains why human birth is uniquely difficult among primates. Not because evolution failed here, because two of its greatest achievements were competing for the same inch of anatomy. There is a second layer to this, one that surprises most people even more. In most mammals, the birth canal runs in a fairly straight line. The baby simply moves through it. Human anatomy does not allow that. Because of how the pelvis is shaped, a human infant typically has to rotate as it descends, turning partway through the birth canal to fit through it all. Many anthropologists consider humans the only primate whose birth process usually requires this kind of internal rotation, and it is one reason a birthing mother often cannot easily assist her own delivery the way other animals can. She frequently cannot see what is happening, and she often cannot reach to help. Someone else has to. Back in the grass, the contractions are close together now. The woman keeping watch has not moved. Neither has the mother. But a third figure is approaching, an older woman, unhurried, already loosening her wrap from one shoulder. She has done this before. Evidence from studies of hunter-gatherer societies suggests she has likely done it many times, because assistance during birth was not occasional in early human groups. It was structural. Add to this the scent of blood, carried on open air, in a landscape with animals that could smell it from a distance. Childbirth did not just risk the mother's life. It could put the entire group in danger simply by happening. And yet humans kept surviving it. Not by making birth biologically safer, by making it something no one did alone. The old woman kneels beside the mother now. Her hands are already moving. The baby is born. It does not cry immediately. For a moment, nobody moves. Everyone waits. This is the part of the story most people miss entirely. A species that cannot reliably survive its own reproduction without help is a species that cannot afford selfishness. Cooperation was not some cultural refinement that arrived later, after fire, after language, after the first villages. Researchers studying the roots of human sociality have proposed that the sheer physical difficulty of birth may have been quietly selecting for trust and reciprocity long before any of that existed. Long before humans could speak to one another, they were already learning to show up for one another. Then, finally, the baby cries. It does not stand. It does not cling. It barely opens its eyes. Here, the trade-off reveals its second half. Because human infants are born so incomplete, they remain fully dependent for years, not weeks. A mother recovering from birth, caring for a helpless newborn, cannot simultaneously forage long distances, watch for danger, and feed herself. The need for help does not end at delivery, it only changes shape. This is likely one of the deep roots of something biologists call the grandmother hypothesis, the observation that human females often live for decades after they stop reproducing, a pattern rare among mammals. Evolution, it seems, favored keeping experienced older women alive, not to have more children of their own, but to help other people's children survive. The woman who delivered this baby will very likely still be alive to help deliver the next one. Days later, the group is moving again. The mother cannot carry as much as before. Someone else carries it for her. Weeks after that, she's out gathering food, and the same old woman is holding the baby in the shade, having done this for children who were not her own, more times than anyone bothered to count. None of this looks dramatic from the outside. No single moment of it would make it into a history book, but multiplied across hundreds of thousands of years. Across every birth and every group that survived long enough to leave descendants, and a pattern emerges that looks less like biology and more like the blueprint for everything humans would later become. Every alliance between families, every debt of care remembered and repaid, every stranger who stops to help someone in crisis for no reward at all. It is tempting to think these instincts came from some higher idea humans invented, but the evidence points somewhere more physical, more immediate. It points to a woman on her knees in tall grass and the people who could not walk away. Every human being alive today exists because, at the most physically vulnerable moment a person can experience, someone else came. Not once. Every time. For every mother. Across every generation stretching back further than we can properly imagine. Long before civilization, long before farming, long before written history. It began with a root gripped in both hands, a woman scanning the tree line, and another already moving to help before anyone had to ask.